Hello there. Glad to have you join us on the program as we seek out innovation and creativity that are unique to Africa. On our lineup this week,
we check out how tech-driven modular learning spaces are helping to bring out students' innovative thinking.
And there's my conversation on smart city initiatives with Abidemi Agwo, who is the program lead of the National Action Program on Think Deep for the International Tunneling Association Committee on Underground Space. A warm welcome to the program. I am Olayemi Odunuga, and this is Tech Trends. Animation offers a medium of storytelling and visual entertainment which can bring pleasure and information to people of all ages everywhere in the world.
Viewing this containerized structure from the exterior will give you no inkling what awaits inside, but a closer look changes that impression. The one-story building is a modular interactive school built using standardized reusable freight compartments, known as containers, a deviation from the brick-and-mortar school buildings. Since the pandemic hit in 2020, a number of learning institutions transitioned online, leveraging educational technology to adapt to the new reality.
Plus 1y plus 6y plus z. Okay, he said 3a plus 2a. That will give us what? 5a. That is 5a. 5a plus 6b. Is it correct? Yes.
But providing an environment that supports the technology is key, hence learning spaces like this. Interactivity is an important part of this setup, and low-cost and easy-to-use tablets are available to encourage the students access the notes the teacher is using.
For example, a science teacher that wants to teach any topic in the science world, you have a 3D platform that the teacher can actually use for the purpose of demonstration. So take, for example, a teacher that wants to teach a circulatory system where the positioning of the heart is. You have a 3D that is very interactive that the teacher can actually use. So here is me interacting with the content. Right now, I can go ahead and look at the structure of the heart with the labeling part. So I may decide to give my student the opportunity for them to label it themselves. I have this solution that I can actually use. We also have Teachers 3D community platform where teachers have the opportunity to create interactive lessons. It's actually embedded in the solution.
These students from Vetland Junior Grammar School in Lagos are the first set to experience this pioneer innovation in the state.
My feeling about this school is that it enhances the children's learning. If they don't know something, they can look it up in the Google because we have our tabs with us, our teachers with the smart boards, the interactive boards. They can even give an example with looking it up in the Google with a picture. Like this is so amazing. Even if the teacher is not even in the classroom, they can search, explore the world, like what they don't understand in the classrooms, they can look it up in on the internet. It's also a privilege, like an encouragement to the less privileged parents that don't have the ability to send their children to private school. I'm so excited.
I have the compass. If I need to do a simple construction like this, I can construct with my compass.
Digital literacy is mandatory for the teachers as well to enhance visual learning, and they make use of interactive touchscreens instead of boards. What both parties need is to have their tablets and internet connection, and learning can take place anywhere. Power supply, which is usually a major issue in the country, is addressed as the building has its own dedicated energy source that's off the grid.
We're sitting right here in a modular school. In here, 52 containers, a 12 classroom block. And why? Why modular? We needed an envelope to warehouse our technology. It's not as if we couldn't have sat in a brick and mortar building, that's fine. But the reality, the concept behind it, the mindset behind it was, what's new? What are we going to do differently? What's rugged enough that can take this African environment that we're in and, you know, the sunshine, the adverse weather effect that we have here? How do we have sustainable buildings? How do we reuse what we already have that's littered all over the place? Reuse it and make it a lot more, you know, useful rather than it just, you know, being a mess all over the place. And that's why the modular infrastructure is fantastic. So they are just absolutely fantastic for learning spaces. And then when you have that idea that the kids will run into them, oh yeah, protection, safety, they're built from a sustainability perspective, it ticks the right box. 50-year lifespan, you know, and then you update. When there's rust, you know, you can go back, and then also maintaining them. All you do is just wipe, you know, just wipe. So it saves you having to paint your schools all the time, you know, just have a clean cloth, clean up, and you're good to go again. So modular buildings end up just being the right kind of, you know, kind of environment, we thought, for this unique projects that we want to roll out, you know, within the technology space.
If the benefits from this scheme are to be spread and used widely, more of these sorts of facilities will definitely be needed. Expectations are high that this indeed will be the case.
A green hydrogen pilot plant has opened in Rio de Janeiro with hopes that it will promote the sustainable energy source with the help of H2-powered bicycles. The project, born from a Brazilian-German partnership, aims to research the potential use of H2 or green hydrogen in areas such as urban mobility.
The idea is to decarbonize the transport sector and show the technical viability of people having mobility either with delivery of goods in urban spaces or an ecological bicycle without a battery using metal, for example, rare metals. But it will have another technology based on hydrogen, which gives a 150-kilometer autonomy and is sustainable.
As everybody knows, green hydrogen is the energy of the future, and Brazil has the best chances to produce green hydrogen. The green hydrogen is not the solution for everything. Green hydrogen is a solution for specific applications, which can be these bicycles that seem small, but they are not, because the micro-mobility is an important aspect of many cities.
The pilot plant will use solar panels to produce hydrogen, and 2 H2-powered bicycles will be made available to the public. The project is run by the Alberto Luis Coimbra Institute for Graduate Studies and Research in Engineering, a research center at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in partnership with the H2 Brazil project. Fabrizio Fidati, who lost his right hand in an accident 25 years ago, had not experienced warmth or cold in his missing limb until trials for a bionic technology sparked hope that he could one day feel warmth in his prosthetic hand. The 59-year-old Italian is among 27 amputees who took part in trials for a new technology developed by the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne.
Yes. And this is nothing.
It allows patients to sense the temperature of objects, from the coolness of running water to the heat of a stove burner in their phantom hands.
The two main components are a system which is able to get the temperature information while the prosthesis is grasping, and another system which is able to deliver this information to the residuum by thermally stimulating the residuum. In this way, we can close the loop. The prosthesis is grasping, the sensors are getting the information, which are translated into sensation, which is done wearable on the stump of the subject. And the beauty of this is that it's not implanted, it's wearable, and this means that the translation of this technology to the real clinical practice would be extremely fast.
A phantom limb refers to the striking sensation that a limb which has undergone removal or amputation continues to exist.
One of the very exciting feedback we had was one of the patients who, while we were doing the test that you just saw where we were touching different materials, in between them, the experimenter, actually Francesco, would take the sensor and put it on his own arm. And the patient told us that beyond the experiment itself, it was those moments where he could feel the hand of Francesco on his phantom hand that were the most important. So for us, at this point, we were interested from this functional point of view on materials, but where we want to project this in the future is into this affective sensation. We think that we could give people a better sense of embodiment of their hands, and maybe even give them the possibility to feel their loved one in a much more natural way.
With thermal electrodes placed on the skin of the residual arm, amputees like Fidati have reported feeling hot or cold sensations in their phantom hand and fingers, and have been able to differentiate between plastic, glass, and copper.
Temperature has been extremely elusive to restore because physiologically it's very complicated to restore. So we did something else with touch, with position information, but temperature was the next step. And we found two interesting things. First, that in most of the amputees, by providing the information at the residuum, so at the level of the amputation, they feel the temperature, so the heating or cooling happening at the phantom hand. This is really interesting, and we are the first providing strong evidence of this. And second, even more interestingly, from a functional viewpoint, is that you can use this information in real time, and the patient can feel that the temperature is changing at the fingers, and they can use it functionally with the prosthesis.
The technology, which has been tested for more than 2 years, does not need to be implanted. It can be worn on the skin and combined with a regular prosthetic hand. The next step for the research team would now be to test the device on a larger scale before combining it with other technologies to improve tactile sensations in amputees.
So this work resonates in me quite strongly. I'm coming from Afghanistan, where I've been working with, I've been seeing actually a lot of people with arm and leg amputation. We actually have the highest rate of amputation in the world. And one of my first contact with we would say neuroscience, was the discovery of phantom pain in amputees, which was described. I was 6-year-old. It was described by my aunt, who told me that people without hand could feel pain in their missing hand, which was almost like a mystical thing to me. So it has always been in my mind for me to try to solve that problem and try to come up with something that could eventually prevent that sort of pain. So years forward, coming here and then doing my PhD has always been one of my dreams to work on this phantom sensation. Now, the fact that this phantom sensation could be also pleasant, which what the patient described, that was beyond all my expectation, I would say.
Fidati said the tingling he had in his phantom hand subsided when the device allowed him to feel sensations of warmth and cold, and said it could facilitate the lives of amputees when they cook or want to assess the temperature of water when brushing their teeth.
There is a shift towards more sustainable and intelligent cities, which in turn are helping to improve living standards in urban and suburban communities. With technological developments and innovation centered around citizens, many cities are now converting their way of operation to a smarter one as they strive to deliver better quality of life for their citizens. Abidemi Agwo, Program Lead of the National Action Program on Think Deep for the International Tunneling Association Committee on Underground Space, shares his thoughts on this.
A city being smart is basically characterized by the integration of technology and data-driven solutions that help and enable the improvement of the quality of life for the residents, and it also enhances urban services as well as the infrastructure of the city. And there are several key components that contribute to making a city smart. I'll simply put it that a city being smart makes it run very efficiently.
So why have they become important and more like a game changer for developing cities?
So it's an absolute no-brainer that cities nowadays are basically designed and developed to be smart. And one of the key things I would basically mention or I'll basically allude to is that you know it forms a core part of how cities are developed and how they evolve. And it's when you look at it from a global north or a global south, that is in the developing world context, or perhaps even in the developed context, challenges that cities have to tackle through the lenses of sustainability. And so when we look at them from the social, economic, and environmental kind of like perspective, so for cities to be able to adopt policies, that will positively impact societies and as well as carry out scenario planning and forecasting of socioeconomic statuses of the different cities across the different timelines that they're projecting. It will be a lot more effective if real and representative data come into play, and that is basically where the smartness of the city comes into play, and that's why we talk about smart cities.
Now, my next question speaks to why we need smart cities. Like, how big an impact could smart city technologies have on the ways we live and work?
Yeah, so there are several different ways why we need smart cities, or why smart cities basically come into play. So we can look at it, from different points of view. So we can look at it from the point of efficiency of infrastructure and resource management. We are in a time or eras where resources are being depleted. They're lean resources, so it enables the efficiency of infrastructure and resource management. It also improves mobility and transportation. So where you have multimodal transportation system, your the ability to integrate this entire system within a platform, which enables the smartness of the entire system, would be key as well. And you possibly also look at things that have to do with enhanced safety and security. It's very important that we look at it from that point of view as well. And then you look at sustainable and environmental friendly practices that is being driven by the United Nations through the Sustainable Development Goals. You also look at enhanced public services and citizens engagement. It enables us to be able to create a platform where citizenry can tie in and can also have a platform to basically share and also contribute to the development of society. Healthcare services, education is a key part of why this is very important in terms of the quality output.
Now, let's bring this conversation down to Africa. Now, Bidemi, as a tunneling and underground space expert for cities, are smart city technologies a potential solution to the continent's growing population and urbanization?
So this would possibly sound like a broken record, and Africa, we all know, is one of the fastest urbanizing continents, as you basically mentioned, and Africa as a continent is also, from the population point of view, is also surging. It is estimated by 2050 that 1 in 4 people on Earth will be an African. Um, it's in as much as we have these challenges in terms of rapid urbanization, the impact of climate change, the rapid population surge. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the systems and in the way governance um, is basically driven in Africa from a continental point of view. And so bringing the concept of smartness into how governance is carried out in our cities would help to reduce, some of the key things I mentioned earlier in terms of, the waste and waste, economic waste, and waste in terms of resources, waste in terms of revenue generated.
But how do these smart cities work? I mean, what technologies drive them and which is the most important?
Smart cities basically are designed such a way that data is being collected from different multiple sources, that is the internet of things, devices, social media, public records, advanced analytics and data processing techniques, where we extract valuable insights, to inform decision making and optimize resource collection. I did mention Internet of Things devices, where so smart cities basically leverage the IoT devices, such as sensors that are used to capture real-time data, and also connect devices that are embedded into various urban systems. You know, smart governance and policies. So, where we have lack of proper governance or policy development is because there isn't the data to back up those decisions. And where you have effective governance and supportive policies, where they play a crucial role in driving, they play a crucial role in driving smart city development. So government needs, to have that backbone of information to be able to effectively drive or push whatever agenda or policy they have. We could also look at, sustainable infrastructure. Those are different ways by which these technologies, come into fore. So I'm very aware that, of course, in the developing countries, these systems are not as matured, where the urban tech ecosystem is not as as established, or perhaps well known, as you have the fintechs, or you have the biotechs, or the health tech tech hubs. But then, from a sustainable infrastructure point of view, which is one of the key parts of it as well, smart cities will focus basically on developing sustainable infrastructure solutions, and this would include energy efficient buildings, things like renewable energy sources, smart grid, and efficient transportation systems, and waste management systems. Just imagine, the amount of waste we generate in Nigeria, particularly in cities like Lagos. If there is some kind of pattern extraction or data extraction that enables us to understand the peak patterns and the different source patterns of this, it will benefit the cities economically.
Now, you've talked about some of the pros of smart city initiatives, but how secure and trusted are they, especially when we talk about data theft, cyber attacks, and hacking?
Well, cybersecurity is a big deal, and the security and trustworthiness of smart cities are critical considerations, especially when it comes to the protection of data, kind of like mitigating of cyber attacks and preventing of hacking incidences. So while smart cities offer us numerous benefits, they also present us with potential vulnerabilities that needs to be addressed, which is basically what you've talked about. And so um, data privacy and protection is basically one of them. So it's important that this is taken into consideration. There are European laws in the European Union that talks about GDPR, where data is protected. It's actually a legislation that is driven and that is followed. Cybersecurity measures are intentionally and put in place and recognized. So smart cities, must implement strong cybersecurity practices to defend its cities against cyber attack. And it's also important to note that collaboration between stakeholders is very important. So in the hierarchy of decision making, information gathering and information sharing is important. And you would see even with the military in the United States or in the United Kingdom or across countries, they share confidential information, and that it's basically how you build a firewall, and that in terms of securing systems and making systems a lot more resilient and robust. Public awareness and education is also important. And so these are some of the things that I would take into consideration when I'm trying to prevent attacks on cities that are smart, or cities that are developed from a smart context.
Well, that was an insightful conversation with you on smart city initiatives, Abidemi Agwo. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech Trends.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a good day.
And that's all we have for you this week. If you missed any part of it, you can always catch up on the channel's TV YouTube accounts where we have all of our episodes. And I encourage you to watch, share, and like your favorite editions. As always, Tech Trends is here to share insights, trends, and developments happening in the tech space. Until next time, I'm Olayemi Udunuga. Bye for now.